My child, you have been counting the wrong treasure. You have looked at what is left in your hands and called it your portion. You have looked at the bills, the delays, the closed doors, and the years of going without. And somewhere deep inside, you began to believe that the good things were handed out before you arrived. But I am telling you now, your inheritance was not lost. It was kept. There is a vault no thief has ever opened, a place where loss has no door and time leaves no mark. And right now, in this moment, inside it, there is a portion with your name written across the top. You have been recounting the coins in your pocket and calling that your whole worth. You have measured your life by what fits in two tired hands. And all the while, far above the reach of every fear that visits you in the quiet, an inheritance imperishable, undefiled and unfading, kept in heaven for you, has been waiting, undiminished, since before the foundation of the world. So hear me say it plainly, the way a father says the thing his child has needed to hear for years. You are not poor. You have been looking for your inheritance in the wrong place. It was kept in heaven for you. I am not asking you to earn your way to it. I am not asking you to be stronger or to fix the part of yourself you are most ashamed of before you come near. I am asking only for your attention, and underneath your attention, for your heart. Not so I can take it, so I can finally place into it what I have been holding for you all along. Stay with me through this message, and before it is over, I will show you why your heart keeps reading your whole life as poverty, when a portion in your name has already been sealed and stored where nothing can ever reach it. There is no rush in this. Let your breath go out slowly, longer than you drew it in, the way a man sets down a heavy bag at the end of a long road. One unhurried breath, emptied all the way to the bottom. You do not have to perform anything here. You only have to stay present long enough to be told the truth. Let the world wait outside the door for these few minutes. It has had enough of you. I see you. I see how you guard the little you have, as if it could vanish the moment you stop watching it. The mother counting what is left after the bills, deciding which need will go unmet this time. The father working a second shift and still feeling behind, certain he is failing the ones he loves. The young one of you, looking at everyone else's full hands and quietly deciding the good portions were given out before you came. The one who checks the same numbers twice before finally letting themselves rest. None of this is hidden from me. I have not missed a single time you went without, so someone else would not have to. There is a particular weariness that belongs to the one who is always last in line. You give the larger piece to the child and tell yourself you were never that hungry. You let the dream wait one more year so someone else's need can be met first. You have made a quiet practice of coming last. And somewhere along it, you began to suspect that coming last is simply what you are for. That other people are the ones things happen to, and you are the one who holds the door open while they walk through. I watched you do this for years, and not one of those years went by me unnoticed. There is a part of you that flinches when something good arrives, because a voice in you is already calculating how soon it will be taken. You taste the joy with one hand, while the other braces for the bill. And in the long quiet, when the house finally settles, you do the math one more time and conclude that whatever treasure exists in this world was never meant for hands like yours. I know the smaller ways this fear shows itself too, the ones you would never confess to anyone. The way you cannot accept a gift without immediately planning how to repay it, because owing makes you feel exposed. The way a kind word slides right off you, unable to find a place to land. The way you say you are fine when someone offers to help, because needing feels dangerous and receiving feels like a debt. You have built a whole life around not asking, around making yourself small enough that no one will ever have to give you much, so that no one can ever take much away. You learned to call this strength. I have watched it cost you so much that I cannot call it strength. I call it the long ache of a child who decided very early that the safest thing was to expect nothing. You have watched other people's lives the way a hungry person looks through a lit window. Their open doors, their easy mornings. Blessing seems to find them by accident and forget you on purpose. You stop saying this out loud because saying it makes you sound ungrateful, and you are not ungrateful. You are tired. You are someone who was told their whole life that the cupboard was nearly empty, and you came to believe it down in the bone, where beliefs are hardest to reach. And underneath all of it, in the quiet you rarely let yourself enter, there is one question you have never spoken aloud. Is there anything in this world that was actually meant for me? Not for the people I serve, not for the ones I am holding up, for me. You have been almost afraid to ask it, because you are sure you already know the answer. So let me answer it for you, gently, with the truth you have not let yourself believe. Yes, there is. There always was. And it is far larger than the little you have been fighting to protect. But that story did not come from me. The emptiness you feel is not a verdict I handed down. It is not a measure of how much I decided to give you. It is a story that was placed in your hands before you were old enough to question it. And you have carried it ever since like a debt that was never yours to pay. Hear where that ache comes from, because it did not begin with you. The instinct to measure your worth by what you can hold was put in you young, in a home where there was never quite enough, where love and lack arrived in the same hour and got tangled together until you could not tell them apart. A child who watches the food run low at the table learns a lesson that follows them for 50 years. Want nothing too much because wanting is how you get hurt. That lesson became the floor you stand on. You stopped reaching for the large things and started protecting the small ones, and you called it being realistic. The fear that you will run out was handed to you by frightened people who were only repeating what they themselves had been handed. It is an old inheritance, and it is the one inheritance I am asking you to set down so your hands are free for the real one. So unclench your jaw for a moment. The one you did not notice was clenched. Let the back teeth come apart. Notice how long you have been bracing for a loss that has not even arrived. I have been near this whole time, close enough to touch, watching you defend a poverty I never once assigned to you. Here is where the lie breaks. The picture of me you carry was painted by that same fear. You learned to read me as a God who hands out portions carefully, weighing whether you have earned this season's bread. A God who keeps the best things on a high shelf to see how badly you want them. A God who is generous with other people and careful with you. A God whose blessing is a wage you are always a little short of earning, no matter how early you rise. That is not who I am. That has never been who I am. Not once. I am not standing over a locked storehouse deciding whether your effort this week qualifies you for a crumb. I am a father who has already written you into the will, and here is something I need you to feel in your chest, because everything turns on it. There is a world of difference between a wage and an inheritance, and you have spent your life confusing the two. A wage is earned. It is anxious. It is measured by the hour and weighed against the work, and it must be earned again tomorrow, and again the morning after that, with no end and no rest. A wage can be docked. A wage can be withheld when the work falls short. A wage keeps a man forever counting, because the moment he stops working, the supply stops with him. A man who lives on wages watches the clock and watches the master's face, forever wondering if today was enough to deserve tomorrow's bread. That is how you have been living with me. Earning, calculating, measuring, reading every hard season as a sign you had fallen behind in some ledger only I could see, and rising the next morning to try to make up the difference. An inheritance is nothing like that. An inheritance is not earned, it is received. It is not anxious. It is secured. It is not measured against your performance because it was never tied to your performance in the first place. It is given to a child simply for being the child. A son does not audition to be in the will. A daughter does not earn her share by being more useful than the others, or by crying the right number of tears, or by finally getting her life in order. You did nothing to deserve your own eyes, your own name, the shape of your own hands. You will do nothing to deserve this either. It is already yours, by birth into my family, written in before you drew your first breath. Now listen carefully, because this is the line fear cannot survive. An heir can rest in the middle of the work because the portion does not rise and fall with the day's effort. An heir can fail on Tuesday and still be an heir on Wednesday. An heir can walk through a long dry season and never once wonder if they have been written out of the family, because belonging was never the wage. Belonging was the starting place. I did not bring you into my house as a hired worker, hoping to be kept on. I brought you in as a child, and what I am keeping for you was never the reward for a good enough life. It is the birthright of a loved one. Let that reach the place where you are most tired. You have been working overtime to earn a love you already have, performing every morning to keep a place that was given to you for free. Imagine how light the days would become if you walked through them as someone who already belongs, instead of someone auditioning to stay. That lightness is not a reward I am holding back from you until you behave well enough. It is the simple truth of your situation, and it becomes yours the moment you believe it. Notice, too, what this fear has been doing to your generosity. A person who believes the supply is about to run out cannot give freely. They hold back. They ration their kindness. They keep one eye on what it might cost them. But an heir who knows the storehouse is full can give without flinching, because giving never threatens a portion that is already secured somewhere safe. The grip you have kept on your life has not only blocked what I long to give you, it has quietly closed your hands toward the people around you. When you finally believe how much is kept for you, you will find yourself able to give in a way that used to frighten you, and that, too, is part of the inheritance. If this is reaching the place in you that has been afraid to receive, write "kept" in the comments. And while you are there, you will find 7 letters waiting in the pinned comment above, 1 for each of the next 7 mornings. Take them. I want to read you something now, a line I set down for you a very long time ago, long before you were anxious about any of this. I did not write it for scholars to argue over in quiet halls. I wrote it for the one who lies awake doing the math, the one who is sure the good portions are gone, the one who stopped expecting anything for themselves and only prays now for the people they love, because hoping for their own life began to feel like greed. These are not pretty words I am offering to soothe you and leave you exactly where I found you. They are the recorded truth about where your treasure actually is, written down and preserved so that on your hardest day you would have something more solid than your feelings to stand on. Your feelings will tell you the cupboard is empty. This will tell you the truth. And the truth was set down long before your fear was, which makes the fear the newcomer here, not the truth. These words first reached a scattered handful of believers who had lost almost everything the world counts as wealth. Many of them had been driven out of their homes. Some had watched their possessions seized, their names dishonored, their futures shut in front of them, like a closing door. They were strangers in cities that did not want them, living in rented corners with nothing to pass down to a single child. By every visible measure, these were people with no inheritance at all. The world had looked at them and decided they had been left out of everything good. A letter found them in that exile. It was read aloud in a borrowed room, by lamplight, to people who had every reason to believe their portion had been stolen for good, and who were tempted, the very way you are tempted, to measure their whole worth by the empty space where their belongings used to be. Picture them, leaning in toward the one small flame, listening for any word that might tell them their suffering had not erased them from the story. Some had children on their laps with nothing to leave them. Some were old and afraid they would die with empty hands. Some had once been comfortable and now had nothing, and the shame of that was its own kind of poverty. They were exactly the kind of people the world writes off, and exactly the kind of people I love to surprise. The man who wrote it had once watched a storm and lost his nerve, had once been so afraid of losing his own life that he denied even knowing my son. He, of all people, knew what it was to feel like he had forfeited his place, like he had spent his one chance and could never be trusted with anything good again. And yet I had restored him, given him back a portion he was certain he had thrown away, and made him the very one to tell others that no failure had emptied their account with me. So through the hand of a man who had been forgiven much, I told them, and I am telling you, exactly where you are sitting, what was actually being kept, far out of reach of every hand that had ever taken anything from them. This is what I said. 1 Peter chapter 1, verse 4, that they had been born again into an inheritance, imperishable, undefiled and unfading, kept in heaven for you. Sit with each word, because each one was chosen for the exact fear you carry, imperishable. It cannot rot the way the things you store away seem to rot. Not the savings swallowed by an emergency, not the security that ages and breaks down, not the good season that always seems to spoil before you have finished enjoying it. Whatever happens to everything else, this does not decay, undefiled. No hand can dirty it, no betrayal can stain it. No mistake of yours has lowered its value by a single coin, and that includes the mistake you are most afraid I am still counting. The thing you did that you are certain disqualified you, it never touched this. The inheritance stayed undefiled, while you were sure you had ruined everything, unfading. It does not lose its color the way every other bright thing in your life has slowly gone gray. Not the dreams that dimmed, not the hope you used to carry into a new year. This one keeps its color. It is as bright as the day I set it aside, and brighter still when you finally hold it. And then the words that answer everything you have feared in the dark, kept in heaven for you. Hear what that does to the fear of running out. It is not kept in your trembling grip, where it could slip through your fingers on a bad day. It is not kept in a bank that can fail, a house that can burn, a body that can weaken. It is kept by me, in the one place in all of existence where loss has no entry, and it is kept for you, not for the better version of you that you keep promising to become, for you as you are, with your tired hands and your long arithmetic. Those last two words are not decoration on the end of a sentence. They are a deed with your name written across the top. Your hands were never the vault. That is the thing fear never told you. You have guarded your portion as if everything depended on your grip, and the whole time the real portion was never in your grip at all. The inheritance was never stored where thieves could reach it. A child does not carry the family fortune in their pockets where it could be lost on the road. The father keeps it safe until the child is grown. It was in heaven the entire time, sealed, undiminished, waiting with your name on it. So look again at the question your heart keeps asking in the dark. Why does my life keep reading like poverty? Here is the answer, and it is simpler than you feared. Because no one ever told you the inheritance was already kept, not earned, not pending, not at risk, kept. You spent your years counting the coins in your hand and calling that your worth, when the real portion was never meant to be in your hand at all. You are not poor. You have never been poor. Not for one single day. You were only looking in the one place where it was never kept. Kept in heaven. Kept for you. Kept beyond loss, kept beyond failure, kept where fear cannot reach. Hold that word because it is the center of everything I am saying to you. Not earned, not pending, not at the mercy of your worst week. Kept. The same word a careful steward uses for the one treasure he will guard with his life. The same word a father uses for the gift he set aside the day his child was born and never once let out of his sight. And this changes what your hard seasons actually mean. The door that closed, the money that ran out, the people who took what they could and left. What you lost was real, but it was not the inheritance. None of it reached the room where your true portion is stored, because that room has never once been broken into. You grieved as if your treasure had been stolen, but your treasure was never in the rooms that were robbed. It was somewhere no robber has ever stood. I do not make light of what you lost. The grief was real and the cost was real, and I sat with you in it even when you could not feel me there. But hear me carefully. What you lost was real, but it was not the inheritance. The inheritance is intact. It has always been intact. This is why I asked you at the very start for your heart. Not because I am taking something from you. I have never once needed to take from you. I asked because the hands that finally unclench are the only hands open enough to receive what I have been holding all along. A fist cannot be filled. You have kept your hands closed for so long, around so little, that you never noticed I have been standing here the whole time with both of mine open, waiting for you to stop bracing and simply receive. When I ask for your heart, understand what I am really asking. I am not asking you to feel a certain way or to manufacture an emotion you do not have on a heavy day. I'm asking for the locked inner room where you store every worry about being left without. Give me that room. The moment your heart is mine, you stop being a renter in your own life, anxious about the lease, and you become a son, a daughter, an heir who lives in the house knowing it was bought and paid for. And here's the part you have been afraid to hope. When you hand me that room, I do not strip it bare. I fill it. I take the anxious arithmetic and replace it with a peace you did not earn. I take the bracing and replace it with rest. I take the long habit of expecting nothing and gently, over time, teach your heart to expect me instead. You have feared that surrender means loss, that giving me your heart leaves you with even less than you have now. But I am not the kind of father who empties a child's hands. I empty them only so I can fill them with what will never run out. What you give me, I give back to you and more, and what I add, no one can take. The heart is not a payment you owe me. It is the door I walk through to carry everything else inside. You have been standing on the other side of that door for years, certain that whatever was on my side of it was reserved for someone more deserving, There was never anyone more deserving. There was only you, and a portion with your name on it, and a father waiting for the latch to lift. Remember the man hanging beside my son in his final hour, a criminal by his own confession, with empty hands and a record he could not undo. He inherited paradise in the last moments of a ruined life, not because he had earned a portion, but because he turned his face toward the only one who could give him one. Your inheritance was never matched to what you managed to accumulate. It was matched to a price my son already paid in full when he emptied his own hands of everything he had, his comfort, his friends, his very life, so that yours could be filled forever. That is why it is imperishable. It does not rest on your strength, which fails by Wednesday. It rests on a love that finished its work and cannot be undone. So here is something small you can carry into the rest of your week. You do not have to make a large vow, and you do not have to feel rich to begin. The next time the old fear arrives, the one that whispers you have missed your share, that the good portions went to other people, that you had better grip tighter or lose what little is left, you do not have to argue with it. Arguing only feeds it. You only have to answer it with one quiet word: kept. That is all. Kept in heaven. For me. Then go on with what you were doing and let the word do its slow work underneath the noise of the day. You can pair it with your hands, if you want to. When the fear grips, let your fingers open instead of close, just for a single breath. Palms loose, the way a person looks who is waiting to receive something, rather than guard it. You are not throwing anything away. You are practicing the posture of an heir instead of a beggar. The body learns what the mind is slow to believe, and a hand held open long enough begins to teach the heart that it is safe to receive. And let your breath help you, the way it helped you at the start. When you feel the count starting up again in your chest, let one breath go all the way out, slow and complete, the way you set down a weight you are tired of carrying. You do not have to force a feeling to come. You are simply giving your body a small rehearsal of what your heart is learning, that the holding was never what kept you, and the letting go is not the loss you feared. And if your jaw returns to its old bracing during the day, as it will, do not scold yourself. Simply let it soften again, the way you would gently set down something you picked up out of habit. Each time you loosen, you are rehearsing the truth that the holding was never what kept you safe. I am what keeps you safe. I always have been. You will not feel rich the first time you say the word. You may not feel different the 10th time. This is slow work, and slow work is real work. And there is no rush in it with me. But somewhere around the 30th time, you will notice the math in your head has gone quieter, that a whole evening passed and you never once opened the ledger. Somewhere around the 50th, you will catch yourself loosening your grip on something you used to guard with both hands, and finding that nothing fell. And somewhere further on, you will realize you have gone a whole week without measuring your worth by what is left in the account, because you finally know where your treasure lives, and that it is not anywhere a hand can reach to take it. You were never poor, my child. You were only an heir who had not yet read the will. The portion is kept. Your trembling did not lessen it. Your failure did not stain it. Your loss did not reach it. Your fear did not cancel it. It is kept in heaven for you. Amen. Before you go, hear one last thing. Comment treasure if you are ready to stop living like the inheritance was lost. And if you need help carrying this truth into the next 7 mornings, the 7 letters are waiting for you in the pinned comment. Then, pass this message to one person whose hands have been clenched around too little for too long, and follow along so the next word can find you where you are. You were never meant to count your worth alone.